Hi everyone, today I'm going to be sharing 5 tips for artists to get inspired and create better work. But if you're not an artist, it can still work as one big metaphor. Starting off, don't be scared to take the leap. A lot of times when artists experience art block, it's because we put this pressure on ourselves to improve. We want to be better and therefore go in with the thought that this needs to be better than the last piece. This does nothing for us, and it doesn't push us in the right direction of understanding how to be better. The truth is that you have to make bad art to make good art. No matter what you make, good, bad, big, or small, you are going to learn something from everything. You're going to have to develop those skills until you're able to make what you really want to create, and you're never going to get there if you don't take the tiny steps in between. I try to practice this by at least drawing something every day. It can be a 5-minute sketch in the morning or a doodle on a napkin between tasks. Just make something. Even at that, the bad art you make may not even be that bad. You can always refine the sketch or make variations until you settle on one that you really like. The best ideas always seem to come naturally. This takes us to tip number 2, which is to reflect on your past. This isn't only confined to your evolution as an artist, but also as a person. Art is an expression of our emotions, so how are you going to share what you've learned when you don't allow yourself to learn? Art can be a great tool to get your message across to people that normally wouldn't care to hear it. Most times, when you look back on your old work, you don't see it as particularly bad, it's just part of the natural progression. There are simply things you didn't know then that you can see clearly now. Even better is getting inspired to improve on old ideas from the skills you've developed since then. This is how I developed my signature style with forced perspectives, by studying sketchbooks from when I first got into illustration. A better known example of this is Tyler the Creator. In an interview, he explained,
I don't know, dude, you could come back to it. Like, I don't get married to things. Like, it's like, oh no, this will work better here. You know, it's okay to move on and switch things up. Come back to it later. Gone Gone, Thank You off of Igor, that original beat and drum pattern was for Wolf. Sometimes I'm not ready for this.
So never discard your old ideas. Just because it's not working now doesn't mean it won't work ever. Number 3 is to appreciate the present. I'm sure this is starting to sound corny, but you have to live your best life if you want to get better. Inspiration is all around us, but you're never going to get inspired if you keep the same routine. Get out of your comfort zone. Who knows? Maybe you'll like it, and if not, you will have learned something about yourself or the world around you. The more you focus on how the things around you are already great, it leaves you better prepared to see how it could be improved rather than trying to replace it. My 4th piece of advice is to create goals within your goals. If you're pursuing a creative field and your main goal is based on numbers, whether it's money or followers, you are not going to make it very far. For one, your work will seem uninspired and everyone can see through that. Even if you get to the point where you're able to speak to people that can help you reach the next step, you won't have much to say, or at least a new perspective that nobody else could bring to the table. I know this might be frustrating to hear because we all acknowledge the numbers. There's no going around it. However, like I said before, the bad art you make that is purely for yourself is usually what shines through. Other times, it's the opposite, and a piece you spent so long working on and you feel like it has some profound message that will make a real impact just ends up flopping on the timeline. In the end, if you're really making art for yourself, the art was still profound because it got through for you and maybe a lucky few that heard you out. You still learned something from that piece, whether it was emotionally or skill-wise. That can go on to the next piece. So, what I mean when I say to create goals within your goals, it's to come up with bigger ideas based on what you're doing today. Maybe it's a bigger canvas, maybe it's creating a plush doll of your character, or maybe even decorating a room so people could step into your work. Even if it seems unattainable at this point, write it down. You'll either be prepared when you get there or get inspired for new, more realistic projects at your current state. Not only that, but if your goal on the way up was to strictly make money to spend money, then you end up wasting a lot of it on temporary pleasures which could have been used to fulfill the next, even bigger goal. My last piece of advice is keeping momentum. Another reason we slip into art block is because the responsibility to create can be overwhelming. This all ties back with the last 4 points. Whether you have the energy or inspiration or not, you can always make bad, quick art because it's an improvement from no art at all. Or if you're not in an art block, then even better. You can use this excess energy and inspiration to work on multiple projects at once. This is something I've started doing more recently, but if I get tired of working on one piece in a certain medium, then I can move on to the next. I'm still creating and I'm not making it a chore. This way, I'm also taking my time with each project, putting out pieces of better quality. It doesn't all even have to be making your own art. It can be other creative pursuits like making music, cooking, reading a book, or simply taking a walk to refresh. The point is to keep going because once you've stopped, it seems a lot harder to get started.